and welcome to another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy podcast, your insider's guide to all things franchising in the local area. I'm Blake Martin, small business franchise owner and your Heartland Franchise Guy. This is the place for all things resources, tools, and advocacy for the franchising industry and for entrepreneurs looking to learn more about franchising in the local marketplace. So for today's episode and our guest today, here's our starting point. Are you one of those people that has said, like me, I wish there would have been a school when I was a kid that taught me how to do my own thing, that taught me how to be an entrepreneur? Well, our guest today, Rachel Benson, co-founder and operator of Acton Academy in Omaha, is doing just that for kids in the local area. Rachel Benson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Absolutely.
So tell us, what is Acton Academy all about?
I would say, because there's so many things, life change, but I would say igniting entrepreneurship in youth and helping them, because we do a number of things, but the day-to-day school, it's really helping them discover who they are, discover their gifts, and discover the mindset and the grit, perseverance, clear thinking that it takes to really step out, carve your own path in life, and change the world.
And doing that with kids of what ages?
Starting at age 3.
Starting at age 3.
Yeah. Right now we have through age 12, and then next year we'll be expanding that a little bit to open up our middle school studio, and then a few years later we'll open up our high school studio.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And you're a couple of years in now, right?
Yeah, on year 3.
Year 3. And so you have probably learned some of those lessons that you're trying to teach kids about. Sometimes you just got to do.
Yes. And really that's kind of where all this began for me is when I was growing up, I was an avid perfectionist. I was really good at the game of school, right? I could study. I could avoid failure like it was nobody's business. Because that was the game, right? If you fail, that was really bad.
Oh, yes, of course.
And so I would avoid it. And I did so well. I was valedictorian, all these things. But on the inside, I was empty. And I had no idea who I was. It wasn't really until college when I'm kind of get out on my own and starting to do things for myself, having to think for myself, that I started really developing, this is who Rachel Benson is, And so, that's the whole journey of like that mindset shift for me. It took a long time. Probably wasn't until mid-30s that it finally clicked. Like I can do hard things and I don't have to be perfect at something the first time.
Sounds like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So let me kind of start at the end if I could, because there's so many directions we could take this conversation. What does success look like for an Acton student?
Love that. It's a great question because I think in a traditional setting, you think, okay, what's success look like? Good grades.
Yeah.
Right? The teacher saying you're awesome,
Gold
getting
stars.
your work done. Yep, gold stars. And as an Acton hero, I think it's really about confidence. And that growth mindset, and the way that they think. So like our learners, each week they're setting their own goals for their learning, call them SMART goals. They're learning how to set specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, tough, or timely goals. And then they're in small groups and they mentor each other and they hold each other accountable to those goals throughout the week. And then they get to earn freedom, on Fridays, if they accomplish their goals, and they get to earn passions time. So they can work on a passions project that they're kind of getting together and be able to present at our exhibition to our parents once every 6 weeks or so. And
really, every 6 weeks,
yeah.
Like every month and a half.
Yeah, the parents come in and they are showcasing their learning. In fact, this last time, sometimes are better than others, right? So this last time was a learning experience for them.
Yeah.
Because they were so motivated to get everything ready that they didn't really spend a lot of time on the actual presentation, and it was a little rough, But we circle up afterwards and we read the parent feedback that they submitted, and they're like, oh, yeah, that didn't go as well as we thought it did. And then they learn for next time. But that's kind of a picture of what it means to be at Acton, is it's a safe place to learn how to fail early, cheaply, and often, because then they'll be able to learn and be able to develop the mindset that says, I can be resilient and I can do anything I set out, I try, I'm going to fail at different points. I get back up, I keep going. It's really that hero's journey, to really discover who they are and hone their gifts and come out changed.
Wow. I really caught something you said there. And for the benefit of our listeners, fail early, cheaply, and often is a lesson that you try to teach those students. And of course, that's the relevance of having this topic on the podcast. This podcast is about franchising, about entrepreneurship, and what better way to learn than to teach? I'm guessing you've learned a few things from you call your students heroes.
Heroes, right? Or learners, right? Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What lessons have you learned from your heroes and learners?
Yeah, they're amazing. Children are geniuses, and they have so much capacity to learn and to do big things, even to think critically like an adult, when adults aren't around. I'm serious. Like, they own
I thought they just played video
tribe.
games when we weren't around.
I know, right? But I think that's the magic of the tribe. So that was another learning point for me. The powerful nature of whatever tribe your child's in will really affect and impact them. When I was a long time ago, I was a teacher in a traditional setting, private school. And I remember, like, the whole orientation of the day was around teaching, assignments. If they had issues together, it was like, take it outside and deal with it at recess. Right? Like, I tried to do a little bit more just because I cared about them. But there was no room or no focus really put on how do we create a tribe of young people who know how to be authentic, hold each other accountable, speak their voice, like how to show up as a successful adult even, in the real world. But how do we teach them how to do that at a young age? And so here, it's like that's the big part of what we do, is helping them learn who they are and putting them in positions where they're learning how to lead themselves and lead others. And with the potential of little failures along the way, that challenges with maybe a real world consequence or a motivation. At the end that they're like, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
they're on an adventure each day.
They're on an adventure each day. I mean, that's what every day is, right?
Right.
That's really interesting. So let me back up. What was the spark for you? I mean, we heard about your own life experience, and you said you were really in your mid-30s before you realized, well, wait a minute, now I know who Rachel is. Yeah. What was your spark to start Acton? Acton isn't a franchise, but it's like a licensing arrangement, right? So there were other Actons. There were people available to help you, correct?
Yes, there's about 300 around the world now.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and in 25 countries. And when I first met the group, when I first kind of got accepted, I was number 80 accepted, and went down, and I found myself in this room full of world changers, is what it felt like. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, look who I get to be around. Like, it was amazing. Just, like, I found my tribe, I found my people. But the spark, I felt lost for a lot of years. So as I shared before, I was always dreamed of being a teacher.
Yeah,
I was in a private traditional school. I loved it. That school in 2008 went through like this split, and the economy collapsed anyway, so it was intense. A third of the staff had to leave because they had to downsize, and I was a new teacher and very innovative. I started the robotics club and all of that. And it didn't matter, right? Tenure, that's just how things work. When you're new, you're gone. And so I'm like, okay, now what? On my hero's journey, And I put out my application, didn't get anything back then. And my husband and I thought, well, let's become family teachers at Boys Town. We'd always interested in that. How can we help children who really need it and really love on them? And so we did that. it was a really intense experience, and I would not say I was in my wheelhouse. I learned a lot, but it was very challenging. After a couple years, then we moved on. But I always felt lost because I thought I would always be a teacher, and now I'm a mom, and now I had a lot of fear. Actually, when we were at Boys Town, I was assaulted by one of the girls, and that introduced a lot of fear in my life. So not only I'm not having this like gold star moment as an achiever. Yeah. What am I doing in the world? I'm a mom. Okay, how can I really sit with this and be grateful just to be here, And then I have all this fear that I was dealing with, like PTSD kind of stuff. And so throughout my journey then, I was feeling kind of lost. I started to help my husband a few years later as he was growing his real estate business and leading a brokerage in town. Yeah. And so I was like the new agent connector. So I was cold calling new agents across the city. And I was deathly afraid of that. So afraid. But that was kind of when it first clarified for me, something's wrong in my mindset. Like I was not prepared for this. This is different from my rest of my life has always been. I couldn't steady my way to success. I had to fail my way to success. Just pick up the phone, say hello, do my best, and learn from it, and then keep getting better. And so I would do this every afternoon during nap time when our kids were little. And it was like my only free time of the day, but I was like committed. And so I'm getting on the phone and failing forward, and a lot of different people angry, and I soon learned like how to differentiate what they thought about me versus who I was and what I thought about me and why I was calling, and like stand in that confidence of how our journey in real estate had changed my life and my leadership. And so anyway, it's like I had grown into becoming a leadership coach really through that role. And so then I was like, well, what am I going to do someday? I don't really feel alignment with being a teacher anymore. I just really care about helping people find their calling and like find that confidence for themselves. And I thought that would be really cool to do with kids, but I don't know what that would look like. Maybe I'd do a once a year leadership conference. I don't know, And so that was just kind of in my mind. And then just part of my like own leadership journey, I was listening to podcasts and reading leadership books while I'm being a mom at home and helping my husband. I heard about, I was listening to the podcast called The One Thing, and they interviewed Jeff and Laura Sandifer, and my jaw dropped open as I heard this story of a school. I felt found in that moment.
Because Jeff and Lori, the founders?
Yes, the original founders in Austin.
Of Acton.
Yeah. And I felt found because I felt lost for so many years. Like, well, now I care about leadership coaching. I guess my calling to be a teacher is done. What do I do? And to see that a school was actually developed around best leadership principles, not around the factory model that was developed 150 years ago, right? But it's relevant, and it's relevant for companies like Google, Facebook, like current companies who are operating at a high leadership, team-oriented level. And to see a school that's taken those principles and then created a whole school based on that, I was like, that's where I belong. I found my calling. So I felt alive again. Like there's purpose and there's a plan for me with all the hard things I've been through. There's a purpose.
That is a fascinating story. Wow. It's too bad you don't have any ambition about what you do. Congratulations on finding your why. And it sounds like you're helping kids find their why. Do children who are going to thrive at Acton, do they need to be showing signs of a future in entrepreneurship to be a hero, to be a learner at Acton Academy?
That's a good question. I would probably rephrase the question even. I think all learners have that capacity. We all have curiosity that is a part of us when we're born. That's how a child learns, by exploring their environment, right? They naturally stand up to walk and fall down, stand up to walk again, fall down hundreds of times until they finally walk. But then along the line, I believe that curiosity and that natural like courage to just keep getting back up, we kind of learn it out of them. Like depending on the environments that we put ourselves in, like a traditional school environment would say, you have to be here by this time, right? You better be up to this growth aspect by this age. Yeah. And that's not how humans grow. Like there'll be certain benchmarks that maybe most people be here by here, but we all grow in our own on our own pace and our own time. And so, anyway, so to think differently about human development and see that curiosity is in there. And so our job at Acton is to help identify that and draw out their genius and keep it on fire rather than snuff it out by, say, sit in a desk and take these notes and learn this right now. It's like, okay, what are you curious about? Here's some different options. Here's 5 different options that are really great. What do you feel drawn to today? And so giving them a lot more agency and choice in their learning is what helps keep that curiosity alive, because they're learning how to think for themselves and make decisions rather than always having the decision made for them. And yet within a helpful structure that, it's not like a free-for-all. So yeah, there is some structure behind it. There's guardrails. Yes, absolutely. Well, that was a much more concise explanation than I was expecting. Thank you. Oh, you bet. That really drives it home. And I'm also tying that into, you said Acton is in 25 countries, right? Yes. So this is something that survives and thrives regardless of the business or social structure. Yeah. It's beyond that. Right. Yeah, it's really cool to get on. We have these online forums where we connect with different owners around the world and, but connecting with people of all different cultures and seeing how these beliefs about children and their capabilities transcend cultures, and seeing how they express it and then how we express it, and learning from each other and making it better and better and better all the time. Speaking of expressing, we've only got time for one more thing here, but you have a children's fair. Yes. I mean, depending upon COVID times, you have it a couple times a year or once a year. Tell me real quickly in a nutshell, it's the Children's Fair, right? Yes, the Acton Children's Business Fair, and we are so excited. It's really just a chance for kids to put together a business. We give them different help and support beforehand. They do the work. They put it together. They set up their booth on the day of the fair, and then the public is invited to come and shop their booths and support their businesses. And it's been so neat to see a number of these children have started with us when they're, let's say, 8, although it's young as 5, that we usually have 4 or 5. And to see them grow year after year. They come back with a different business idea, tweaked. Next year, they come back with a different business idea, changed. And it's like they're continuing to innovate from year to year. And what a cool way that they're discovering what they care about and their passions, and they're like trying it out. And so it's a really safe way to fail early, cheaply, and often, right? Because I've had even my own children tried an idea and they're like, I only made $20. I'm going to do something different next year. Yeah. So it's a safe place, a supportive place. We have a lot of amazing sponsors and judges that come, and they just pour encouragement. We call them our chief encouragers of the day. Pour encouragement on them and help them see, hey, I love this idea. Hey, have you thought about this? And so that's really special. It's probably one of the most special parts is the connection with real entrepreneurs who just care about giving back to them that day. So that's fantastic. And having had my own son in one of those fairs, in the most recent one, what I loved was, it may have been a little hard for me, but it was the right way to do it, is this is not a parent's event. Yes. This is the kids doing it themselves. And you were politely but very emphatically helping parents let their kids succeed and fail and learn on their own terms, which is really hard for a parent. Yes. But it was so rewarding to watch it happen. So thank you for setting it up that way and staying true to it. Yes. And it does require bravery for each of the parents. And so we even have a special meeting just to help them understand, how do you do this? Because this is countercultural to what is traditional, right? You go to a traditional fair of some kind. It's a parent fair, and the parents see whose kid can look the best, and that's not what we're about. If the parent is seen selling to the public, they have to leave.
Yeah,
like,
you're out.
You're out.
Yeah, tell the kid to fire their parent.
Exactly.
All right, so we got to wrap up, but two things. One, when do you have a date set for the next Children's Fair, Acton Children's Fair?
Yes, it'll be May 15th.
May 15th of 2022.
Yep. And then we are actually going to be doing a Nebraska Acton Children's Business Fair as well. There's another Acton that started after they heard about from us what we were doing. They started one in Lincoln. And so we're going to connect and do it midway and have a Nebraska Children's Business Fair later this fall. So very excited for that development. Yeah.
Where do people go to get a hold of you and to learn more about the next fair and about the Academy itself?
Yes, our website would be great, www.acton, Omaha, A-C-T-O-N,
Thank you.
Omaha.org. And, you can reach out. We have lots of information on there.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So, again, it's Acton, so it's like Act On, A-C-T-O-N.
Right. Named after Lord Acton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was the one who had the quote about power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so in our model, we push the power to the children. That's why it's called Acton Academy.
I can't think of a better line to wrap this episode up on. You nailed it. You're going to have to be a guest every month.
I love it.
Rachel Benson from Acton Children's Academy in Omaha. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you listening to another episode. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy. Remember to listen, subscribe, and share.